So, welcome once again to Inside Movies Galore, where on episode 35, we talk about Stuart Gordon's Re-Animator from 1985. Why don't we go with Katie? Why don't you tell us what you think the movie is about? Give me a rough, you know, uh,
Mm.
uh, what do you think it was about?
Loosely, I guess it's loosely based on H.P. Lovecraft's Herbert West, the Re-Animator story.
Yep.
But it's obviously, yes, it's about Herbert West, the Re-Animator, who has this formula or whatever that he creates. He's a scientist, and he has this formula that he creates that can reanimate a dead corpse, bring it back to life. And he tries it on, some small mammals, and then wants to graduate to trying it on humans, and then chaos ensues, of course,
Okay.
as a result of that.
Alrighty. Um, was this your first time watching the film?
No, I've seen it years ago, and it's like one of those 80s classic campy, like 80s horror. You got to see Re-Animator, Bride of Re-Animator, if you want to consider yourself seeing good 80s horror. Got to see it.
It was pretty good.
So yeah, it's
They're
totally
both
in
good.
my repertoire of movies that I enjoy,
Okay.
in the horror genre for sure. So it's a
And
go-to film
what
for me.
uh, did you enjoy the film?
Absolutely, yes, I did.
Watching
I
it?
do.
Okay. And
Yes, I continue to enjoy watching it every time.
okay, cool. Michelle, was this your first time watching the film, or
I vaguely remember seeing parts of it, but I think I wasn't really conscious
okay,
when I first saw it. So it was the first time I consciously watched it.
okay? And what were your thoughts?
I liked for the time, the time frame, the special effects.
Okay.
Especially with the bodies, the way they came apart and things like that. I thought that was really cool. It's throwing me off because I can't hear myself when I'm speaking, so so forgive me. I've got to figure this out. So when I watched it, I tried to watch a little bit of the beginning and the end of the next two movies as well, so I could kind of get like a feel for the whole set of movies. I really do want to sit down now and watch all three of them. Maybe not necessarily back to back, but I might, because I just watching the parts that I saw of the other movies, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I love how they tied in, especially in the Bride of, they tied in some of the same characters from the first one, which you don't see that too much often when people are dead. They
Okay.
had the one doctor in the bag and all that. So I really liked that aspect, and I know that's going into the next movie. But
Mhm.
to me, stuff like that is it's hand in hand. So I actually enjoyed it. I liked it.
Okay. Alrighty, Katie, or Red Raven. What was
Get
your
it right.
this your first time watching the film, or have you seen this before?
I watched the movie twice, and I thought it was really good. I also liked the visual effects.
Okay.
I thought that was done really well. I liked how the twist with how the main doctor was having his idea stolen by the other doctor,
Okay.
and he he tried bringing that head to life, and the doctor came back to life, just the head, and tried coming after him and killing him and taking his idea.
Okay. And
Yeah, he like about halfway through the movie, we get a switch where like our earlier villain in Herbert West is replaced by like a much greater villain in Dr. Hill. So they said that was a conscious decision to kind of switch the focus.
speaking of you, Justin, what was how was this your first time watching the film?
Certainly not. So I saw this very early on when I first started getting into horror,
Okay.
and I didn't quite understand it the first time I saw it. I wasn't really a Lovecraft fan yet, but it grew on me pretty quickly, and I came to really appreciate it. Like it does so many things well. Most of its effects are practical, and because of Stuart Gordon's like background in theater, most of the effects were practical enough that you could do them on a stage, leading to the Re-Animator musical, which I did not get to see, but I've heard a lot about. Um, it's a moderately close adaptation of the Lovecraft story. I actually have Lovecraft's really big, like one volume book here. And so on the original Re-Animator, the person who put together this collection writes, "This episodic story, which gained notoriety as a result of the movie, was commissioned by George Julian Hutain for his crudely sensationalist magazine Home Brew, where it was serialized in the issues of February to July 1922. You can't make them too morbid," Hutain told Lovecraft. "Each segment had to have a punch at the end." Lovecraft considered the whole exercise, quote, "manifestly inartistic," end quote. But Hutain offered $5 a segment, so he complied. $5 back then was roughly $70 now, so I checked.
Alrighty.
There's no
Dave.
question the story becomes a self-parody as it progresses, which is kind of the vibe Gordon went with.
Dane, was this a first watch?
Yes, it was. Thank you for recommending it because I'd been wanting to see it for a long time.
You've never seen it?
No, I had
What
never
the
seen it.
hell?
I know. Should we talk like this the whole time?
I only do it when I'm surprised. Jerk.
So yeah, this was the first time I'd seen it. Now I'm not really well versed in H.P. Lovecraft, to be honest with you, but I did notice a lot of, I'm sure very deliberate, parallels with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is my favorite novel of all time. It's kind of
the rest of that. It's actually the rest of that thing I was reading.
Yeah.
I'll let you say it though.
Well, but like I noticed a lot of parallels where like basically they split Victor Frankenstein's character into two characters, which is Herbert West and I forget the other guy's name, but like they took his his more like hopeful idealistic side and then his kind of crazy or obsessive side, and they kind of split them into two characters and had them work as one. But like it's the same kind of thing about resurrecting life, about when you do that something goes wrong, and but it's kind of like a bit of Frankenstein the novel, but also they took a little bit of Bride of Frankenstein there with the one doctor who wants to steal Herbert West's ideas. That's a lot like Dr. Pretorius in Bride of Frankenstein. And I mean, heck, the sequel was even Bride of Re-Animator, so they obviously took some inspiration there.
I wonder if they got Dr. Pretorius was from Bride of Frankenstein.
Yes, he was.
Because Dr. Pretorius is in From Beyond too. Like that's the name they used for that. So I wonder
they took the name from there.
They took it from the From Beyond story.
No, Dr. Pretorius. They took that name from the movie. They took it from the movie Bride of Frankenstein.
Cool.
Which that character and that name was never in Mary Shelley's story, but they invented it for the Bride of Frankenstein. Anyway, but I did enjoy it a lot. It was very cheese-tastic. It didn't take itself overly seriously. It had some decent, ties to Frankenstein, the novel. The thing I thought was most interesting is that instead of animating dead tissue that's assembled from various corpses, it's more reanimating the recent dead. So emphasis on recent, and so like someone who's whole, can be animated again. So that was different. But yeah, I enjoyed it as kind of a not take itself too seriously kind of adaptation of Frankenstein.
And I myself, I watched this back when it was on VHS, of course. And I'm recently watching it again. I also got an Invisible Man kind of attitude as well, because Invisible Man, when he first in the original black and white film, when he first roomed with the person that he went and found a room with, with the attitude that he had towards the person that he was going to rent the home from was his attitude in here.
Yeah.
He wanted to find some private place to work, and to me, that it took that aspect of that, because that wasn't in the original Frankenstein. He didn't want any privacy. He didn't rent a room anywhere. That was
Well, that's actually not true. In the novel, he creates the monster in a room that he rents out near the university that he's at. And so that's where because in the 31 film that everyone knows, it's in a castle, which that never happened in the novel. So that's kind of
It
why
was
I
cool
brought it
though,
up.
right?
It was cool, and it's cool and iconic, but it's not in the novel. So that's why I referenced the novel specifically, because that arrangement of him renting a room and doing it literally by himself in a feverish kind of frenzy, that's straight out of the novel.
what's interesting is that both the doctors both had a feverish frenzy when they found out that Herbert's ideas were actually, genius. They each got animated at the prospect of finding that recognition for the idea.
Yeah.
You know, people think he's completely nuts until they realize that he's right. Although
the
in a way he
thing,
really is nuts, because it's kind of a crazy.
yeah, it
thing
doesn't
he's doing.
entirely work because it makes them crazy when they come back.
So
One
they
thing
come back kind of like zombies. So
Yeah,
I saw it as like
basically.
a mix between Frankenstein and zombie movies.
Yeah. The
Well,
thing I
yeah.
thought was rather odd was when um the other doctor, not her father, but the other one who
Dr. Hill.
yeah, the fact that he had that weird almost like semi-hypnosis ability that they kind of sort of go into in the
I do
cut
have
in
I
the
do have
cut
something like that. Yep.
yeah, in the cut that I watched, which was the extended cut.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I watched that one, and they explained that he had done like a micro lobotomy on her father to better control him, I guess. Um, which makes a little bit more sense than him actually having hypnosis powers. But still, both of those were a little like, why are we introducing this in a movie that already has an extraordinary premise to it to begin with? I don't know.
Yeah. They mentioned that in the commentary. It's like, why are we introducing a subplot to this movie? This
You know
movie
what?
doesn't need a subplot.
You know what?
This is not as
I
thematically
think
and
that
culturally rich as Troll 2, so they shouldn't
I
even.
think that, but I think that came
And then
into
he
play
like
when
goes
they
after
brought
that
in
girl
the other
too.
movies.
What did anyone think about the reanimated corpses being naked?
It
Well,
made sense.
that's
They
what
were just
happens when
getting
you
them on.
die, right?
Yeah.
Not always. Sometimes you find reanimated corpses with clothes on, so it's not it's not always common.
Well,
I
they were
thought it was
going.
creepy when Dr. Hill went after that younger girl or whatever.
Yeah,
That
that was
was
kind of creepy.
That was my
gross.
favorite scene of the movie. That's my favorite scene. I love it. It's so off-putting. It's beautiful. It's the visual pun. The
And I
head
felt,
giving head. It's
felt
great.
like
Yeah.
it felt like that part was
Supposedly, Dr. Hill, the actor who played Dr. Hill, supposedly at the premiere, his wife saw that and was like, "How could you?" and left him.
I love the way he sounded after his head got cut off. He was like, you know, I like that, and I like that he could stay out of water, quote unquote, or really blood. I like that he could kind of float around a little bit, but then he had to return to like a stable supply of
He
blood.
was like amphibious.
the
He was
Yeah,
second,
amphibious.
basically.
You should see
I
the
liked
second
how
one.
I liked how he was out of breath, but he didn't have any lungs.
the first
Yeah.
Yeah.
the first movie I had ever seen with like separated head was The Brain That Couldn't Die.
I think I saw that a long time ago.
And from what I understood, so they did a similar thing where they just had like the actor probably crouched underneath wherever the heck they had him, and His head was pretty much in a bowl.
Just up through the table.
Well, they basically use the same trick, I think, in most of the shots.
Well, did anything? Did anyone else? Did everyone else feel that some of the films felt like it was like ad libbed a little bit and not scripted?
Not really. I don't remember them talking about doing much improv. They may have because it's sort of because it's sort of like the theater troupe approach to production.
Right at the moment when you see the head look at the naked girl, and it's like shortly after that, all of a sudden, there are more reanimated corpses, and they're running around, and there's just kind of a little bit of a madness to it.
Oh, they might have just told those guys to go nuts. I could see that happening. And
I thought the acting was actually very good considering the ridiculousness of the storyline.
Yeah, the acting was appropriately cheesy. Just like it wasn't it wasn't bad acting whatsoever. It was just they understood the ridiculousness of the material and they did it justice.
I thought for 1985 though it was done really well.
Yeah.
I think so too, because you gotta think. This was not too long after The Thing, which I know was quite a bit earlier. It was the effects wise, and
I'm gonna say 81, 82.
The thing is, behind the picture, it was actually made with Empire Pictures, which, if anyone knows, is actually the earlier production company of Charles Band's Full Moon. It was Full Moon before it was Full Moon. So that was his company that he had been doing a lot of 80s films through.
Yeah. Gordon talked about getting the deal to do Dolls and From Beyond and some other movie off the success of Re-Animator from Charles Band. I get his name wrong. Sorry.
That's okay. Did anyone else have anything else to add?
I was just going to say that I really like the... Hi. I was just going to say that I also really enjoyed the practical effects in this movie for the time period that it was. Every time I watch it, like I catch a little something else that surprises me for 1985. So I just wanted to echo that. I also thought the special effects were really great.
I thought so too. Everyone else agrees?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I even like the scene with the cat, like in the beginning.
It
was a bit cheesy, but body-wise, it was a bit cheesy. But for the time, it was.
Yeah,
cool.
They did admit to using an actual dead cat in some parts of that.
Oh!
Yeah, like in the fridge, that's a real dead cat.
Oh, God!
The practical effects were great. You know that was real, right?
Poor kitty!
I'd say most of the effects looked good. I think some of them didn't hold up very well over time, but that's kind of that's effects in general,
When when he crushes like Dr. Hill's head at the end, that's like a sculpted piece of like hamburger meat. That they
when
just
he throws
put like
it against the wall.
Yeah, that's also never like
awesome.
That's another really funny moment where like the security guard like sees the headless corpse like run out of the thing, and then he's like, "What's going on?" Then he sees the head fly, and he just like looks in the room and runs. It's just like, nope.
He's like, "Oh fuck this, I'm out."
Drops his boudoir magazine and gets out of there.
What a terrible security guard too. It's like this is the easiest morgue to break into every time.
What's interesting?
I like the part where that guy gets like the bone saw put right in the middle of his body.
It's like, how do we stop him?
Well,
that was good too.
Herbert West was so methodical about it. He was definitely a colder character.
Like, I really like Herbert West just as a character. Like, I admire like his drive and dedication to his goals. And while I don't quite want to be that kind of scientist, I want to be that kind of scientist, if that makes any sense.
You want to be that
Herbert
dedicated,
West is a
but you don't want no
creep.
dead bodies. He doesn't very much creep, but I think Dr. Hill was much more creepy.
But I gave it.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Hill was good at hiding it. That was another thing that they brought up, like why he went after Meg quite like that. They said that one of the things they were going for was that when you're reanimated, like your inhibitions are gone. And so
Well, they
he'd
showed
always had a thing
They
for
showed
her.
him. Yeah, they showed him being kind of a bit of a lech before all that happened, so it just made it worse.
Exactly.
Most definitely.
It's a severed head. What does he have to lose?
Well, like, what's he actually gonna do besides that? Like,
Hey, he was getting on pretty fine until Herbert West walked in and crashed the party.
who's gonna believe a talking head? Get a job at a sideshow. It's one of the best lines.
Yes.
I know that while I was watching the lecture between Herbert West and Hill, I kept thinking that the brain that he held in his hand kind of looked like fruit jello.
It might have been.
It probably was.
That was a great scene too, where he's challenging this professor who, while the professor's going off the book, like from his own experiments, he knows the professor is wrong. And I enjoy that scene for just kind of a few different reasons because of my experiences like in biology and whatnot. So I guess I'm focused more like on the like scientific aspects of this movie.
Yeah, I had a fun biology teacher when I was going through high school. He actually would tell us stories about how he would like get stuck up on his roof and there was no ladder or something like that. So I didn't really have one of those stiff biology teachers.
Oh yeah, the scene where he's having the conflict with the professor in the lecture, that's also right out of Frankenstein, the novel, where he would have conflicts with his professor because where Victor Frankenstein liked the alchemists and people prior to the Age of Enlightenment and the Age of Modern Science. He was taking inspiration from those people and getting ridiculed for it, and so he was like, "I'll show you," and that's when he made his monster. So that's also right out of the novel.
That is.
I'm really not surprised that you related so much to this movie, Dustin.
Oh, thank you.
I was curious to hear. I'm like, I bet you Dustin's all about Herbert West. I got to hear this.
I have a theory. Overdose.
Yes.
I was him for Halloween. I was him for Halloween one year, and all I had to do was just get a lab coat out of my closet.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me guess. You got that
Perfect.
in the syringe, didn't you?
That was hard to find, but
No, you just open up a glow stick and put it in a plastic syringe.
I did figure that out. It was hard to find the actual syringe.
Oh, American Science and Surplus.
I always go for authenticity.
American Science and Surplus here in Milwaukee is definitely a very oddball.
It's a good place. I mean, that's where I get the tongs for feeding the lizards. But actually, maybe I will go back there and look for some random stuff.
Is that what they call it these days? Feeding the lizards?
Well, one of them's a salamander, I suppose. But
he's so cute.
The salamander? Oh yeah, you got the
salamander. I meant.
Technically, it's a she.
She's so cute. What's her name?
I actually don't name the animals anymore. Like, it makes it simpler. So
Sally. Her name is Sally the salamander. Done.
Sure. Why not? I'll go for it.
I've had a few Sally the salamanders. Easy name.
Salamander.
Sally M. Ander. Salamander.
Anyone else have anything else to add?
Anybody notice the music?
I noticed
The rip-off of Psycho? No, I didn't know.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be an homage to Psycho.
That drove me crazy, to be honest with you, because it's like it's bad enough that Friday the 13th already ripped off the Psycho music.
It did?
Yeah, of course it did.
Are you sure?
Well, the first one anyway. I mean, I think they got away from that as the series went on, but yeah, it was bad enough that Friday the 13th ripped it off, and then Re-Animator was kind of like Danny Elfman almost doing it, even though I know it wasn't him. And then didn't Danny Elfman do the Psycho remake music? I think he did.
Maybe.
I think
Danny
he did.
Elfman has done so much; it's kind of hard to tell.
I know.
Although
I
he
think
does have a distinctive style.
But you know what I mean, right? It has that kind of wacky, bouncy kind of feel.
Yeah,
despite
that was kind of the idea. Like it was supposed to be like a reflection of like Herbert West is nuts, but in a
Yeah.
fun way.
Yeah, and I just looked it up. He did do this like a remake score, but yeah, it just to me that was probably my least favorite thing about it, just because that score, the Psycho score is so iconic that it's like, just I don't know. It was bad enough that Friday the 13th, the first one, did that, so just don't do it again, and they did it again.
Well,
But
I'm gonna
yeah,
check that because I don't remember. I somehow ended up with 2 of the really expensive Friday the 13th sets, and I haven't started watching them yet. So I'm gonna pay better attention to the music, to check up on that. But with with the connection to Psycho in Re-Animator, it was completely deliberate, and the composer actually got in trouble. It's like, oh, you ripped off Psycho. It's like, I was trying to homage it. Like, come on, guys.
yeah, I didn't buy it personally. But you know,
Yeah, they require every fifth note has to be different, or it's plagiarism. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I love the soundtrack to this a heck of a lot more than the one for Psycho anyway. Good God, it's an expensive vinyl.
Yeah, well, let's see, that one ripped off Psycho, and then, I mean, you can do sound alikes and things like that, but it just, I don't know.
I know, that's another one of my popular movies that I dislike, is Psycho. There were 2, Psycho and Exorcist, so sorry guys.
Well,
Just like the most classic, iconic ones. No big deal.
Yeah, no big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
I loved the book! The book was amazing! Like, the movie just didn't work on me.
we'll have to do Psycho.
God damn it, why?
Because you open your mouth.
You're all gonna get lizards. Yeah. So many lizards. Killer lizards.
I love lizards.
Well, that's good.
I want the salamander.
You still have the salamander. She's my salamander.
That should be the name of a song. She's my salamander.
I at one point,
Actually, if you go in the woods, you could probably catch one when it's warmer.
I at one point, in
'Cause
time
it's a native.
We'll go salamander catching, Dustin. Okay, you can show me how to do it.
it's just like crayfishing. You
Turn
just-
over leaf litter.
I say, no, you gotta dig in the dirt for them. Turn over logs and.
Well, turn over logs, technically.
You go in the creek and you just scoop it up.
Or
They're
you,
not
know,
in
you
the
could probably
They're in
you
the
could
mud.
probably do bait shops. Like they sometimes sell them at bait shops, which is horrible.
Oh.
That's
So
actually where mine came from.
That's what they call it these days, turning up the logs.
I've always bought mine at the pet store.
That's a good place too.
Alrighty. So, did anyone else have anything else to add?
Nobody else had anything on Re-Animator, despite its
So there is a
surprisingly
second
vast
and third
history.
one,
Yeah.
right?
With the second one, the thing that made no sense to me is supposedly Dr. Hill's head got crushed. But in the second one, his head's in a bag on a shelf, and then he's flying around like a bat later. So
Yeah. They said that they couldn't
the
figure out.
continuity didn't quite work for me.
They said that they couldn't figure out how to resolve that, and just kind of hoped nobody would notice. They admitted that. Like I have the really nice like Arrow box set of both Bride and the first Re-Animator, and so I've gone through all that stuff, and it was a lot of it was kind of like a by the seat of your pants sort of thing. Like
I-
the one
I
from
like-
the first one. Yeah.
I liked how they did the first one in '85. I believe it was 1989, 90 when the second one came out, and then
That
not
sounds
till
right.
2000, not till 2003 did they bring out the third one. I liked that because it showed an age progression of the story.
Well,
I
yeah.
kind of like that.
I
Instead
have yet to see the third one, actually. Maybe Arrow will put that one out too.
Maybe.
Did anybody catch the theme of like creating life? In terms of like his girlfriend doesn't want him to hang out with like Dr. West and create life with him because she wants him to create life with her. So that was the theme.
There was kind of a life thing going on there, wasn't there?
It's like where he's having that argument. It's like, you know what me and Dr. West could create? But what about what we could create?
It was a jealous woman moment.
Well, it was deliberately done that way, and then they expanded on it in the second one with Bride of Re-Animator, which they admitted was like a Bride of Frankenstein kind of thing.
It was so super cheesy, but I like that about it.
I always did love your beauty.
After we watch Bride of Re-Animator, we should watch Frankenhooker.
Oh,
I've never seen
Yeah.
that. That should be
Had a lot of-
interesting.
had a lot of movies on our.
I'd love to
podcast.
watch Frankenhooker.
I love that movie.
Like the Re-Animator story by Lovecraft, it kind of takes place like over different time periods, and so they borrowed a lot from the rest of the book for Bride of Re-Animator, and I don't know if they did that for Beyond Re-Animator. Does anybody know?
I don't
I have no
think.
idea.
No.
I don't think that they have.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. If anybody is looking for the Re-Animator Arrow set, it has some pretty cool stuff on it. I think my favorite was like an hour-long breakdown of every Lovecraftian thing that's been in movies. Like that was pretty great. And then there was like a 40-some minute Jeffrey Combs reads the whole Re-Animator story to you, like a mini audiobook on the disc. It was pretty
I don't know
sweet.
if I could listen to him for that long.
Jeffrey Combs has a cool voice. He does Brainiac in Injustice too.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a cool voice, but he's also has a very creepy voice.
I don't get creepy from him. I don't know what everybody else's problem
That's
is.
because you're a man, Dustin.
Oh. Rough.
And men are creepy.
Just kidding.
I mean, I thought that Jeffrey Combs' voice was kind of creepy, but in like more of a weak,
Mesmerizing.
well, in like a weak way. Not he doesn't come off like a predator because he looks and feels too weak to be a predator.
Yeah, not a predator, but yeah, just creepy. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like a
Hard to explain.
like a slimy little guy, not like he's
Yeah.
gonna actually hurt people intentionally.
Easily brainwashed kind of man.
Like maybe you can't trust him, kind of. Like maybe
Yeah.
don't turn your back
He's
on him.
oily.
Like, you know.
Yeah, shifty-eyed weirdo.
Shifty, oily, and greasy.
I'm not greasy anymore. Yeah.
Like you have to spend 2 hours in the shower to fix that.
Like talking about the greasy strangler.
The Greasy Strangler. Is that a movie too now?
Yeah.
Probably. From our.
It's a new porn.
Oh, why? No.
A lot of
That makes me think of. So I saw some post somewhere where somebody was like, you know, Hamilton, the porn parody, it's out now, and I commented on that. It's like, why would you do this? And I actually got a reply from one of the stars because God told us to.
Nice.
It's like, well,
there's another
okay.
movie out there. They're called God Told Us To.
Dustin,
I know.
you said you have the box set, the Re-Animator, Bride of Re-Animator box set.
Yeah. So Arrow put out a little box.
It's a-
You know their thick box sets where it's like multiple discs and then like a booklet, in like a big slipcase. They put one out for Bride of Re-Animator and they put one out for Re-Animator. And
I was just looking at what we have. We have steel books of each one of those.
I think the steel book of Bride of Re-Animator is roughly the same, except just without the booklet. What was cool about
These
the
are-
Re-Animator one? Yeah.
I need to
They're, like,
get the
from different
I,
country,
I
though.
I need to get the Re-Animator Arrow one that is 2 discs because I know on Amazon it's getting kind of pricey now because I know it was a limited edition, but that 2-disc one has the extended cut that I saw.
I thought it was
Eh,
3 discs.
No, I think it's only 2. That's what Amazon said.
Friday
Um,
at 3.
Well,
Do
Bride
I
of...
want to take ours out of the slipcase and look at it? See how many discs are in here?
All right, give me a moment, gang. I will need
don't
a
know,
longer
these-
moment. I'm coming
The
back.
ones, the ones that we have are like Region B. I don't even know where that is.
Oh, that's like Region 2. It's kind of like Asia, the UK, you know, it's
Yeah.
almost out.
Those are the ones we have that I can only watch on the Region free Blu-ray player.
Region B is
Yeah, Region
Region B
3.
is like Europe.
Yeah. Well, that's where these are from.
Ah, fuck.
That's because Amazon is
struggle.
much cheaper in the UK.
Okay.
And I don't know what version did everyone watch. I watched the unrated version, but there's the Integral version.
yeah,
and
I
then
watched,
the rated R version.
I watched the integral one, the 1 hour 40-minute version.
Gotcha.
I watched the uncut one. That was the first disc on this. So this is the Arrow US set.
These are Arrow too. These steelbooks.
Yeah, they
So
came
it was kind of a cool thing. It came with this big like comic that was like an expansion of the story. And for some reason, like Dr. Hill has like a cult in South America. It's really bizarre, but it was cool. And then like it came with a bunch of this other stuff too.
Cool.
And yeah, this thing is getting expensive. I actually have a spare of this for some unholy reason.
A spare of that Re-Animator
You have a
set?
spare of everything, Dustin, because you're gonna sell it on eBay. Remember?
Oh, don't.
You have a spare of that Re-Animator set?
Yeah, I do.
Can you sell it to me?
We'll see.
Because I would be interested.
And then this is Bride of Re-Animator.
Well, you have the set, the 2-disc set of Re-Animator that you could sell me.
That's an after the show conversation.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it after the show.
All right.
Yeah.
So, what movie do we want to watch next?
I vote for lizards. You know what I mean.
Unfortunately, yes, I do know what you mean because I was there last night.
No, you weren't. What are you talking about?
Lizard. Let's see.
What came in second on our voting list? What was like the runner-up?
Let's see. I can just for a moment. The runner-up.
We had a runner-up.
Yeah, we had a runner-up. It came in second. Actually, we had 2 runner-ups, I think. No, actually, the runner-up was Poltergeist.
I love to watch Poltergeist because that's arguably my favorite horror film. Arguably.
Poltergeist is a good
That's
pick.
one of my absolute favorites.
Does anyone have any thing against watching Poltergeist?
I'm down for Poltergeist. It's pretty.
Sounds good to me.
mainstream. It's very good. We're talking about the real one, right? Like the real like,
original.
80s one, not the
fake one.
bullshit one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, and I don't want to. I just want to pretend that it doesn't exist because the first one is perfect.
Well,
Basically the
How I feel
same.
about Blues Brothers 2000.
how about this? Has anyone seen the remake of the Poltergeist?
No, and I don't want to.
I refuse.
I'm just asking if anyone, because I've seen it.
No.
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, in any case, then Poltergeist will be the next film.
Great. I'm
If
looking for
anybody in Milwaukee is interested, I know where you can get the glow in the dark LP set.
Nice.
Ooh, where?
It's like $60, and I will tell you in a at a different time.
Okay.
Wheeling and dealing he is over here.
All right.
Well, that just kind of came out.
Why don't we start with Dane? Dane, why don't you tell us what you do and where you're from? Start wrapping this up.
All right, so my name is Dane Kyle. I'm an independent filmmaker out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And so my film Eternus just now is with the new year is in rotation on the American Horrors Roku channel. And yeah, it's really cool. It's gonna be on their VOD website soon. And yeah, I've just got some other projects in the works, some other stuff that's either getting made or coming out in some form, some of which I can't really go into too much detail right now, but I'll make sure to keep everyone updated as things go along.
Okay.
Hooray!
Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, where you're from?
I am Katie Cadaver from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm a horror artist and horror makeup artist, plus size alternative model and burlesque performer and producer. And I do makeup for the horror punk band Ratbat Spider.
Okay.
I am also dead girl for Deadger's Dark Coffin Classics. I can't talk.
It's
And you
okay.
can find Deadger's Dark Coffin Classics on Vimeo and on YouTube, as well as Facebook, of course. And I'm also a producer with Grindhouse Tees Burlesque, and we're on Facebook as well, and we have a show coming up actually next Saturday, January 20th, at Frank's Power Plant in the Bayview neighborhood. We're doing heavy metal and burlesque, so we've got Reptato, which is like reptile potato, like the name of the band that's opening up the show. So
That's a good
Dustin, you
start.
might want to check them out. Reptato,
Reptato.
and then we've got live burlesque and Primal Enemy closing out the show. So it's going to be a really good time. Come on out and support us there.
Awesome.
It's not deathly cold.
Tell a little bit about what you do, where you're from.
Who?
Michelle.
Who did you say?
Michelle.
Oh,
You.
me. Ah, me. Hello, I'm Michelle Yeager. I'm an editor for Movies Galore. I've been in entertainment industry for over 40 years, mostly as a model, actress, and writer. I was in talent management, promotions, and booking with Yeager Entertainment and Northwest Entertainment, or on the other side of the country. I have a degree in broadcasting. I'm the only ever Born to Be Wild babe, licensed by Steppenwolf, and I am out of Detroit, Michigan. You can find me on Facebook, Michelle Yeager, Yeagerbomb Yeager, and Yeager Entertainment. You can also find me on Instagram, Yeagerbomb Yeager and Little Miss Yeagerbomb. That's pretty much about it.
Awesome. And Red Raven, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Red Raven. I'm from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and I'm a local concert promoter in Milwaukee, and I'm also on a Dead Girl on Deadger's Dark Coffin Classics.
Cool. Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm trying to put this away on my shelf and it's not working. Well, I'm Dustin. I live here in Milwaukee. I go to UW. I study GIS and ideally reptiles very soon. Let me into that grad program. I have been really into movies and especially collecting for the past couple of years. And yeah, I have an Instagram where I try to show off my collection. DHR Hunter, all one word. So as soon as I get finished with some stuff, I'm going to be putting an awful lot of pictures on there. So I have maybe 1% of my stuff posted at this time.
And
So yeah.
And as of last week, you might be an editor for Movies Galore Milwaukee, correct?
Yes, I have two movies I'm looking at reviewing. One is Sliffus, which I have a bit of a personal history with, and I was so excited I went and got the Ronin Films Blu-ray release of it, which, to my anger, only comes with the theatrical trailer, like nothing else. Which is, why bother? Bah! And then the other one is a movie that I'm a big fan of called Aberration, which almost nobody else has heard about. It involves killer lizards in a cabin. I wrote an academic paper on it.
And it's not
Which
really
ended up getting published.
one.
What the hell are you doing, Dane?
I'm not doing nothing.
Do we embarrass Dane, on the show? Nobody's listening. Hey, whoever Dane's with, how you doing? Yep.
Lots of giggling.
It's that actress lady from the other week, isn't it? It was great talking with you, by the way.
Yeah.
Come back on.
Well, yeah, Jillian tried to watch it with me, but she fell asleep, so she wasn't able to.
But it wasn't bad taste. It wasn't. Okay, so let me speak
Yep.
for myself. It wasn't because it was boring. It was because
Do it.
I'm running a TV show and I was exhausted yesterday, and I literally fell asleep in the middle of it. I did like what I saw. I just didn't want to be a panelist until I actually watched the show and knew what I was talking about.
Totally.
Oh,
We do it all the time.
we've had moments where people are like, "Oh yeah, I watched 10 minutes of it," or "Oh, I saw it last year." So you're okay. You're in good company.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it, and I actually don't even remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up on the couch, and I was like, "What the hell happened?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" And so I was like, Dane was like, "Do you want to be on tonight?" And I was like, "Yes," but I was like, "No, I don't feel like I deserve to be on because I didn't watch the whole film. So what kind of panelist would I be?" So I was like, "I'll watch the next one, and then I'll actually watch this, and I'll give you guys insight as to what I thought because it's just not fair."
Well, in your defense, Dane did go with the inferior cut. That's like a half hour longer.
So you're saying that the
Right.
shorter one's better?
Yes,
Interesting.
it's a lot more
Um,
focused.
Yeah, but that's
the
who
action
was
scenes are
that's who was
interesting.
giggling next to me because I was doing my absolute best to make her laugh, as I always do.
I have literally maintained good behavior this entire time. He's over here sending me like retarded gifts on my Facebook Messenger.
I remember.
I'm like literally not even being able to like focus, and I'm trying to keep as quiet as I can. So I'm so glad I am.
Just went
I
weird
just-
places.
I always just like to mess with people, as you probably can tell.
Yeah, that's why I figured I'd mess with you back by calling you out.
I see.
Yeah,
Well-
suck it.
Well, thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Dustin, the humorless high school principal who secretly goes to the special dungeons on weekends. Thank you very much for that.
What, like the Blue Oyster?
In any case,
Yeah. How'd you know? I thought I saw you there.
my name is David Scraggy. I run Galore Milwaukee group as well as and I also run Inside Movie Report. I'm also a full-time producer of my own Wrestle Massacre coming out in 2018. There's some various other films and features that I.
Mute your mic, Dane.
I'm not
What's going
breathing.
on?
I'm not breathing into it.
Definitely keep a lookout.
Dustin, quit breathing.
Quit giggling into it. Fuck.
He was the one that ruined. Dustin was the one that ruined the breathing the last time I was interviewed. So it's always Dustin's fault, and I'm only on here the second time. So you know.
Yeah, I rewatched that episode and I was like, oh, damn, that mic is much more sensitive than I realized. So
I'm
I
picking
have
on you, Dustin.
it outside the mask now.
You got no
almost-
one to blame but yourself.
I was mad at myself too. Plus, I said like 80 times.
Well, like, why did you do that? I mean, that's so immature.
Like,
I'll stab you.
you have to end it with like. You have to be like, but like, and wait, and then like.
Yeah, for sure. And
Miles, Batman.
I know, I don't know what you're saying. And I think next review we should all talk like this. And
Like, oh my god. Like,
Oh
seriously.
no, catching on.
Can I just
Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, whatever.
I think we should go to the mall and buy shoes.
Totally.
Not like
Shoes.
Anyway,
Everyone, say good night.
Oh my
Good
god!
night, everyone.
Like good night,